All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you're live here with us on Zoom, welcome, welcome. If you are watching on the replay, on the recording on YouTube, welcome, welcome. Please do subscribe so you can take advantage of all the current shows, all the previous shows, all the shows coming up. There's so much wisdom here for you, and it is my deepest desire and wish to bring to you these amazing speakers who are sharing their wisdom, their teachings, their processes, their clearings, their whatever it is that they're doing. There's just so much, and transmissions, etc., so that we can all thrive and so that we can all awaken to happiness now. And so today, my dear friend Elizabeth Wysen is back with us, and we're talking about relationships, narcissism, and healed community. And some of what we're going to talk about today is around what kinds of light and dark are happening now in relationships, how you can navigate the rebuilding of our communities, what actions you can take to participate in an impactful way, how to see past the illusion of doom and create the new. And of course, we always talk about so much more than we plan. So I'm so excited. And if you don't know Elizabeth yet, I will just give you a brief introduction. She's been on our show many, many times. She's considered an advanced seer. Elizabeth works on the cutting edge of galactic and quantum anthropology, trauma healing, and futurism. And with her lifelong ability to see into and work with all dimensions, her theoretical and psychic work has helped people all over the world. She's called a living library and oracle. Elizabeth has spent her whole life studying anthropological theory, quantum physics, ancient and modern medicine. She has 2 science degrees, including a master's in applied anthropology, and her philosophies and practices bridge science and spirituality to support real change in the world. And like Elizabeth just said, she wants to talk to as many people as possible today. So if you are here live with us, please do raise your hand. And let's get started, everyone. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth back to the show. Elizabeth, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome,
I love
welcome.
being on the show with everyone, especially you.
Oh, thank you so much. And we're so happy you're here. And this topic is a big one that we're going to talk about, but of course, you have deeper insights into relationships, narcissism, and healed community, and what all that means, and also about where we're going with it, right? So not just in the past what we've experienced, but where we're going moving forward. So I'm excited about this because as you know, we've dealt with some relationship issues in the past few years, and some of them are narcissistic tendencies and so on and so forth, which I still have. I'll be honest, I was just saying before we went live, I still have a hard time really grasping what that is, but just from what I've heard from some people, perhaps, my ex-husband was also had some narcissistic tendencies, but I didn't want to see that kind of thing, right? So I was just ignoring. But relationships are one way that we grow, right?
Absolutely. Well, and you and I both have had some very similar things. I think most of us, most of the clients I talk to have gone through quite a lot of regarding this issue. And that there's there's a spectrum of tendencies or traits, and then there's what we would call straight up narcissism. And that's where it gets tricky, because the ego in general has narcissistic traits in that it wants to protect itself, right? But yes, there's been some patterns here that we're all looking at the moment.
Absolutely. And the thing is, regardless for me personally, is regardless of what I've experienced, regardless of what has happened, I continue to move forward in my life, in my awareness, in consciousness, instead of holding a grudge or beating myself up or blaming anybody else. It's like it was an experience for me to grow and know who I am.
Yes, exactly. We can use it to, and as all suffering can and ought to, if we're doing it correctly in divine order, it's going to mirror to us a deeper sense of responsibility. So there's always polarities going on. So that's a really good way to approach these particular subjects around relationship, is that no matter what position you are in, you have a divine place in the natural order of things. And that there's always going to be people who want to push you out of that place and people who don't. It doesn't matter if you're a hermit in a cave. There's still going to be things that try to push you out of your position one way or another. So there's inevitabilities that we need to embrace. And these kinds of traumas, thankfully, you use your platform to talk about your human experience, your humanity. That's what makes you authentic. And I like to do that too. I'm not a guru. I'm not perfect in any way. I don't want to be. Because if I say that, or if I try to attain that, then I lose my chance to walk with everybody as we're evolving at the most pinnacle part of human history. So that's why. But the polarity that narcissism presents, whether it's traits or straight up narcissism, which is a state of possession, is actually codependence. And codependence is super interesting because there's literally like two ways of working in the world, and there's not a lot of gray area. And so you can find that this dynamic will always be there. If someone is acting incredibly selfishly on their own behalf, you'll always see the people who say, well, wait a minute, what can I do for you? What can I do for you so that you'll treat me better? What can I do for you so that I will get my needs met? And that's not what the attitude of the narcissistic egoic structure or the person who's truly narcissistic and possessed is going to say. They're going to say, what can you do for me? And there's an interesting kind of way to collapse this polarity. Just as an understanding, when we collapse polarities, we accept the wisdom and power of both sides of a polarity. Sometimes polarities are not terribly nice either way, like narcissism and codependence, or arrogance and worthlessness, or victimhood and a tyrant. But there's wisdom in both positions. There's wisdom in both energies. This is very key to living an awakened life, because if you want to be awake, you're going to have to accept wisdom in the dark. That there's wisdom everywhere to be attained. You don't have to carry the burden of these things. Wisdom is not a burden, but you expand your awareness this way. So if we collapse the polarity of narcissism and codependence, what we find is sovereign service. So we clean up the energy of, well, what can I do for you so that my needs can finally be met? It's more that I am going to meet my own needs first, and then I'll get to you. And it's a sovereign service. So selfless service has been really destroying our new age community, our golden age community, right? I like to imagine the new age has grown up a lot and become the golden age community, people who care about the future and really want to get the work done. And we're not trying to escape suffering anymore. So you know, the new age got trapped in the idea, oh, I can be selfless service. And I think that's actually been a lie that's been implanted for very many eons in many cultures, where you don't include yourself, you don't include your body. And the aestheticism was necessary for certain periods of time, but that's not been the universal, and that's not how we've gotten ourselves free. We've got ourselves free by including ourselves first in the service. And the way you do that, just as a quick mindset shift, is you are not your body. You're not your body. Your body's begging you to include him or her in your service. So start there. And you keep talking to your body as a being that really wants an unconditionally loving experience with you. And then you'll see that, oh, wow, we play out these polarities with ourselves. The ego is very narcissistic and wants to maintain control over the mind. And so there's two different kinds of mind control. There's mind control from an external source, and then there's when your mind is in control instead of your soul. So the second type's actually a bigger problem these days, because we're all aware of mind control around us now. But how is your mind controlling you? And that's the trick, is that you bow to the mind. Gratitude. Ironically, gratitude shuts down narcissistic and even possessed people in their tracks. this is a very odd thing I'm going to say to you. But if you're grateful for the lessons they're bringing to the table, like I know, Shefali, you and me have had to learn how to be grateful for the marriages we've been in, as troubling and awful as they are, as much healing as we're still doing out of it. The farther I get away from it, the more grateful I am that I've gone through it, because now I can be in better service to everyone else around me. And I can be in better service to my own body and my own children. So there's so much there. But gratitude shuts stuff down. It ends the dynamic. It ends the war. It ends the painful trouble that we create. And what that looks like, it's not inviting people in again. I'm not going to be doing that. It's that I'm grateful for all of what I've learned. And now I have the wisdom, I have the information from a soul level so that I don't repeat the same traumas. And many of these traumas are repeated through eons because our genetic lineage has continued to play these out. My grandmother married a narcissist. That was my father's mother, and it was my step grandfather that was a closet narcissist. I didn't know that until actually the past few years. And then my mother's mother, she also married narcissists. I didn't know any of that until the past few years. And that's very clear to me that I ended up in the same situation because it's in my genetic bondage to do so. So it got mirrored, and I can bow to my grandmothers and say, I'm doing the work for you too. On behalf of all of us, I can end this cycle. It ends with me. So that's some of what I'm seeing right now about how we can approach these things.
I love that. And part of it is sometimes in the past we didn't recognize narcissism in others, right? And so, we didn't see it. And to be honest, this term I think has only been for me around for the past 10 years or so. And it's like,
It's
I don't
really
know what it
new,
means
yeah.
exactly. Right. So we didn't know. But, when I look at other relationships in my family, for example, I can now see some of those things, right? And I'm like, oh, I just it was normal, right? This is how it had always been, so I thought it was just normal, right? But not realizing, but I guess at somewhere I knew there was something wrong, right? But in my culture especially, people stay in marriages no matter what. They don't get divorced, they stay in
Same,
marriages,
exactly.
no matter what, right? And so for me, because I got divorced, my aunt got divorced, so very few people in our lineage, in our family, on both sides, my mom's side or my dad's side, have ever gotten divorced. But those n- eh, those traits and that personality type narcissism is so prevalent, and we just accept it because it's always been that way, right? But now we're starting to question, and it's like, no, this does not work for me. I don't like this, and this is limiting my growth, is limiting my expansion, my consciousness, my wisdom. It's breaking me down, kind of thing. And it's like, enough. It's like, no, I don't need this in my life, and I'm not going to stand up for this anymore. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And it's a difficult choice that we make when we make it, and it's not
Yeah,
easy, right? So for all those of us who have experienced these types of relationships, these types of experiences, it's not easy to recognize it, and then it's not easy to you know get out of it. It's still difficult. But the thing is, you have to start listening to your soul and to your heart, what it's saying. And especially if it's saying time to go, then I mean, I never tell anybody what to do, but for me, it was, I think I'm finally you know much better, right? So this past couple of months were, again, just horrible. But it's been years of it, but it's taken me a while because I had to forgive myself or just accept myself for not being able to see what was going on, if that makes sense.
yeah, and your own self-love and the power and self-preservation of the soul kicks in. So you made a comment and said that this has been prevalent. And I would say that you're right in a modern sense. But let's discuss where the heck all this came from and the fact that this is a modern issue. It is not an ongoing prevalence across history at all.
Mm.
So very important for us to recognize many of our diseases. Someone mentioned borderline personality disorder, which it totally does fit in. It's just simply a comorbidity that goes quite nicely with narcissism, as some of the other comorbidities do. But every single one of these things, everything from the anorexia and bulimia, the dysmorphia that's now caused an incredible shift in consciousness across the board, causing so many people to believe that they're trans, as a phenomena that is actually going to have a bell curve and peter out, as we're actually watching it do now. These phenomena in consciousness are very modern, and they've been tracked for a very long time. So in proper psychology, there's an awareness that there's been these phenomena where certain mental illnesses will take hold as popular, and then everyone ends up with it, or everyone thinks they have it. The narcissistic phenomena is no different. Furthermore, the narcissistic phenomena has ended up becoming kind of like a snowball fight, where it's snowballed out of control, so that we end up throwing the narcissist label snowball around, even though it's actually a very, very difficult and painful and very powerful mental illness that cannot be cured. That's a key piece here. There's a difference between traits that someone can work on, and then there's a literal disorder. And in this case, it can't be cured, and it's one of the few that can't. There's very few that cannot be cured or worked with, but narcissism is one of them. Why? And so we've been throwing the snowball around. And so when I started to say, well, is my ex a narcissist? I had to be really careful, because I'm watching all these videos and these things describing, because there's a lot of data out there right now, some really good experts out there. One of them that I really like the best, his name is Richard Grannon, Grannon. But Richard Grannon's about my age, in the mid 40s or so, but he's dedicated his life to recognizing and understanding narcissism. And he's the first to say that we tend to throw the snowball around way too much. So we're throwing stuff at people. Plus, narcissists will use it in order to discredit you. So they'll tell everyone else that you're a narcissist, right? So you see how this becomes quite the messy game in consciousness. Plus, humans have a tendency to magnify the mental illness phenomena at a popular level, even before the internet. So we were watching bulimia take hold, and then bulimia skyrocketed, and then it just disappeared. And then anorexia, and I was in the 90s when anorexia became the thing, and then I became anorexic too, literally. And then I was able to fix that and heal it, but it made a mark, and everyone I knew was anorexic, right? This is some of how humans work. And if you are here for awakening, which if you're on the call, then you are, then you need to start paying attention to these phenomena and recognize that no, not everyone's trans. No, not everyone's suddenly queer. That's not how it works. These phenomena are very real and they're measurable. All right, and then back up past modern society, past the internet. Then what? What are you looking at when you're getting 1, 2, 300, some thousands of years in the past? You're still going to find every once in a while the very, very rare phenomena of narcissism, sometimes being brought on in some cases by real brain damage. For example, a very famous narcissist that everybody knows is King Henry VIII. King Henry VIII actually suffered major brain damage right before he decided Anne Boleyn was cheating on him. Now, it doesn't mean that before that he wasn't already narcissistic. But now we know more about what actually happened, and the brain damage basically magnified how terrible it really was. And he probably had other diseases, including syphilis, that would have affected his mind. So we can actually have a totally different perspective on some of the folks that we know for sure in history have had narcissism. But there's much more to the story always. And all narcissists, this is so important, every single one of them has had some very awful trauma happen to them, especially when they were quite young, in order to force them into a situation where it was them against the world. And it's such an extreme form of disassociation that literally nothing else is real but themselves. And this is literally living hell. These folks are living in hell. And it doesn't mean you need to talk to them or try to help them, because sometimes and most times you can't. It's, again, real narcissism cannot be cured. It's that this disassociation is so extreme that you're not real. Nothing's real. And this is horrific. This is very, very sad. This is why narcissism and spiritual possession tend to go hand in hand. But where did this wound come from? How did we end up going from this really incredibly pure species of people from the beginning into this mess? Well, I often point out the wound of Cain. And I talk about Cain a lot because nobody talks about Cain. No one even knows anything about Cain, really. Cain was the entry point for the shame that was sort of forced upon the very pure minds and spirits of Eve and Adam and Eve. They were shamed, and that shame did not exist in human awareness on earth until that moment. Then Eve had children. The first children she had did not have that wounding, but Cain did. And when Cain played out that wounding, it was probably from many other traumas that he became the first narcissist. Once something is going to occur in human consciousness, it makes it available to everyone else, including trauma. So the wound of shame didn't exist before that. When Adam and Eve were up against galactic level enemies that they did not recognize because they were put here without galactic memory on purpose, the experiment was basically, can we evolve ourselves outside the galactic trauma that we've experienced? The answer is no. A hard no, which is why we're dealing with this now. There is no like randomness to the fact that narcissism now is so prevalent. We are dealing with this wound as a species at the very last chance. The last iteration of our species is now. It's you. We're the last of us. And if we can get a hold of this, if we can recognize it, then we can carve a path past it. And some of these things, again, cannot be healed. This is something that we don't talk openly about in our community. We have this belief that everything can be healed. And I've learned over the years that that's a lie. It's another lie. It's another lie to get you to spend your money on things that aren't going to work. And for you to end up following people who are actually narcissists and will totally discard you as fast as possible the minute you question what they're capable of. So we have to be very wise right now to recognize that this has all come to fruition because we have to finally deal with this wound in a different way. And here's how we're going to deal with it. It's going to be across the board. You're going to see what I mean in a second, that it's literally across the board. You can see it for yourself, that the attitudes we've had up till now are not going to work. And the first one is, here's the deal. Some things can't be fixed. We can't get rid of the Dark Order. We're not going to be able to kick all of the aliens out of the galaxy that don't belong here. And the idea that they don't belong here is a false assumption. We co-created all of this. And the minute you become responsible is the first step into awakening. If we're responsible for all of this, then what does that mean? It means that we will end the Dark Order and the Galactic War and their power over us by recognizing we can't kick them out. You can't heal narcissism by pushing everyone away, and you're not going to fix it also by ignoring it. It doesn't mean you have to have contact. There's a difference in the personal. But what I'm saying is, as a collective, we're going to have to understand that all of these people have a place, that all of these beings have a place. And what we have to do is an inside job. You want to beat possession, you want to beat demonic oppression, you want to end the power of narcissism over you, you're not going to be able to get rid of the narcissists, because murdering a whole bunch of people isn't going to help anything. We already tried that. We've been doing that for billions of years. That's why we call it the Galactic Wars. And it doesn't work. They've not left. they're still being annoying. So what do? You have to actually get more powerful. You have to become who you really are. This is what's called punctuated equilibrium. Now we're under so much pressure, and there's so much more narcissism in consciousness than ever before, that we're going to have to become bigger than it. And what that means is you're being asked to evolve in a punctuated way. It's not a slow evolution. It's a kick in the butt. It's a huge moment in time that's happening right now. We're under that much pressure right now. Literally. We're under so much pressure that we have to evolve. And so when we do that evolution, it's us waking up as a group, as saying we're now ascending beyond the New Age community into the community of the Golden Age. And we have grown up, and our moment is basically saying everyone has a place at the table. My round table includes all of those who I had perceived before as my enemy. Their wisdom and their screw ups and their trauma informs me immensely, but I am so big. I'm so immense as an immortal being, as a voice of God, as a voice of the divine will, that I can absolutely make sure that every single being that comes into my life, that I'm learning from them and that I'm evolving it. So what that means in a different metaphor is, look, the Dark Order seems to have a lot of power over us, lots of mind control, lots of technology and all this stuff. But what they don't have, and what they want the most, is control over DNA. They can't make DNA. They'll never make DNA. They'll never be able to control it. They want to. But when you literally allow your DNA to do what it's meant to do, which is to become fully aware of your whole history of the soul, your whole history as a being, not just this lifetime, but all lifetimes beyond this galaxy, from the beginning of our universe. When you become that memory, it doesn't mean you're going to remember it in your head. It means that it's available to you. Then they look like they're holding squirt guns, and we are the atom bomb. We don't have to have any more weapons. We have consciousness. And if you're willing, then we get to do what many, many other seers have seen, and that's to explode the whole situation. We become so powerful that they have to put their weapons down. They don't have a choice. so many people of all different walks of different kinds of insight about the future have seen the same exact thing over and over. Even people who've been doing work for the Dark Order have seen it. And it's basically this moment of explosive power and light, and they can't see past it. And they keep thinking it's some external thing when it's not. It's us. It's us evolving to the point where we say, everyone and all this wisdom, all this trauma has a place, but I'm so immense that I can absolutely recognize you, and you can't escape my awareness. And so that's what it takes. That's how we end all this. And this has an explosive effect across the galaxy because DNA is connected at a collective level. That's what the Akashic records are. But this explosive moment is what we've all been evolving for. And it's why we've all keep having these really difficult, traumatic, messy lives right now. Right now, in specific, it's because we're wrapping all this up. And you have an opportunity to awaken, especially if you're suffering. And if you have a teacher and you get tools and stuff, then you're privileged. But you can awaken through utter pure suffering as well. And that's what we're doing. And when we do that, then nothing has power over us at our expense any longer. So that's actually the answer. It's to hold the position and say, this person had a place in my life. My ex-husband had a place in my life, and I'm grateful for his place because it pushed me to be able to hold so much more awareness than he's able to do. So I can do it. And by doing so, then it's beyond forgiveness. Forgiveness is fine, but forgiveness isn't always necessary. It's not always your job to forgive. It's holding all the lessons. It's holding these people in their place. They don't get to go roll around and ruin a bunch of lives after that. It's that we become so much more powerful than they are. And we hold all of it. We hold the whole galaxy in our hands. So that's actually what I see is why narcissism seems more prevalent now, but that it hasn't been this way throughout human history. However, it leads us back to that original wound of shame that Cain used to create the first narcissism, the first black magic, the first all of these really awful things, including trying to control DNA and cloning people and cloning humans and hybrids and things like that. These kinds of things, they didn't just happen in a vacuum. This is part of our history that's getting played out from our DNA. And you are not your DNA. You are not your body. You're bigger than that. So the more you start accepting that immortality and how powerful you are, the more you'll be able to step away from the influence of all of this stuff messing with your life and your head, making you feel small when actually you're the opposite of that, right? Does all that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I there were so many things that you said that made total sense. But for me right now, the key part for all of us is to do our inner work, recognize that we are not the body, we are not our thoughts, we are not our mind, we are much bigger than that. And our power within us is what we need to access. And I'm not talking about like power over others, but our essence of who we are. If we can start to access that, we will realize that we are bigger than what we can imagine. And all of these energies around us, once we are can be aware of them, like you said, they all have a place. We all have a place in this universe, in this reality, but they don't have to have power over us or be
No,
working against us, right? Because
that's right.
once they recognize that we are becoming the light that we truly are, instead of focusing on our stories, focusing on our trauma, focusing on this and this and this and that, we're focusing on our evolution and our growth. Then they have no choice but to back off a little bit because our power within ourselves is so big.
So let's talk about what that looks like, right? And then there's a few really good questions.
Yep.
The
And there's lots of
what
hands
that
raised as well.
Yes. What that looks like in like 3D practical terms is that the only way you can end the narcissist's power over you is by cutting off contact. All of the different practitioners online will tell you that. Good therapists will tell you that. By cutting off contact. This is why narcissism can't be cured, because it's a complete and total severing from the true self and from any kind of semblance of recognition that anyone else around you actually exists outside of your fantasy. So it's so total that it can't be repaired. It's a type of brain damage. So if you see it that way, that's best.
Can I
Go ahead.
just add a little bit to this? I noticed after my husband had his stroke, that's when the narcissistic tendencies and traits and his whole demeanor, everything about him changed. Like, he was not the same man that I fell in love with, not the same man that I married. Like, he was just not the same. And that's when things really was,
Spiraled. They spiraled out of control.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's actually how most of the time people will discover it, is some kind of event will happen where either they are injured or the narcissist is injured, and then everything becomes a lot more clear. So like, we'll sit in this stuff and it'll be subtle, even covert, even. Now, if people are wanting to, like Lindsay's asking, how do you recognize true narcissists? Right? Well, that would be like a very long discussion. However, I am teaching a class that's in the package where I'm going to talk about this more. But the basics are that there is no interest in your needs. Lots of words can be said. There's no empathy. There's no capability for compassion. There's no interest in your needs. There's actually even it can be very, very subtle, where at the very least there's no care about what you are or your needs or anything like that. Words and deeds do not match whatsoever for narcissists. So they'll say lots of things that aren't true and then do completely the opposite. In more extreme, they'll purposefully kick you when you're down. So if something really bad happens, which most of the clients that I know, that's what happened, like they either got sick or injured, and then it became very clear that their partner or whatever, or person in their life was really a narcissist, because that narcissist would do everything they could to make it worse, to make it harder. And that's what happened to me, actually. That's how I figured out what was going on. And I still stayed because I didn't understand it enough. And slowly but surely, finally just couldn't bear it anymore. Eventually people they can't take it anymore, because they're pushed into a corner, and finally their soul kicks in so that they can survive. The list of, what narcissism is and exactly how to see it, I think that is something I am intending to teach you in a class, so not here in the interview to take too long. But it's very powerful when we end up having children exactly with these folks and things like that. And it can be very painful. Sarah says that she enjoys making fun of her ex, who's a narcissist, because she has to have contact with him, and that's a coping mechanism. Perhaps, Sarah, you can join me for that class, and I can teach you some even better coping mechanisms that I think that you'll find will help you grow even more from where you're at. And yes, Jeanette, drug use, including weed, can make certain things more evident. And sometimes the weed can actually stifle it, which is what happened in my ex's case. So it's not across the board. There's lots of nuances to this. It depends on the trauma and the comorbidities of the person you're dealing with. And Eleanor says here, forgiveness for me is letting go of all hope for a better past. That's exactly right. You ditch the resentment and less than, and you just let it go, but you end up recognizing the next step would be to value all of what you've been through. So, because it makes you a more compassionate, wiser person. And that's a huge hook that the narcissists will use, is your hope that there can be a better future for yourself, right? My hook was, well, maybe I can actually turn this into a really good, happy marriage. And I had a vision for it that was being used against me all the time. And then I had to let all that go so that there was no more power over me anymore. And then Tina, is expressing a very profound and huge truth for us codependents, is that we find ourselves taking blame for people attacking us, and we blame ourselves. I did that too, and I'm like really smart and awake, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can get caught in, anybody can get caught into this stuff. And there's a lot of consideration around our different kinds of leaders too. All these different leaders, people who are leading the world, are they narcissistic? There's probably lots of tendencies to it, right? When you have leadership like that, because that's actually a narcissistic system. It's not necessarily that they themselves are full-blown narcissists, but they certainly would have traits because they're being put and working in a system that provides rewards for narcissism, right? So there's a lot more going on there than what it seems. And Abby, all these folks with great questions, hey, come and join me with the class. We'll look at the package in a minute, but come join me, because we're going to talk about all this. We're going to spend some hours, many hours, talking about these things so that we can talk about your personal lives too. And I can walk you through but here's the key. What's the cure-all for this? How do we fix this stuff in our lives? It's an inside job. You're not going to fix the people around you. It's an inside job. I'm going to teach you how to work in natural law, in divine order, so that you're doing the things that are not matrix level stuff trying to save yourself anymore. You're going to do things that are actually in natural law that will heal your lineage, heal your children, heal the people around you, and make it such a different vibration socially that the narcissism gets revealed on its own. And then these folks end up getting kind of quarantined socially is what happens. So there's been different kinds of events in the past where the narcissists end up getting quarantined. They get taken out of society and put into positions where they don't have power over people anymore. This especially happened at a tribal level when we were more hunter-gatherers, but way back before we were building a whole lot of cities all over the place and having stationary kind of melting pots of different kinds of things going on. So it's important for you to recognize that. Furthermore, a lot of people who are codependent in narcissistic situations, they end up with addictions. They end up with narcissistic traits. You end up mirroring it in order to survive. And this is something huge because we'll feel so much guilt over like, well, I did drink too much. And he was always saying that, and that I'm just this way and I'm this that way and it's all my fault. And every time I'd try to bring up a problem, he would remind me about all the ways that I failed. And then I'd end up in a big, huge hole in so much pain. And then I'd drink too much. And so all this must be my fault. And so some of that we have to come to terms with, because when you're stuck in a narcissistic fantasy, that fantasy rubs off on you. And you want to fulfill the big, huge, overly tall pedestal that they put you on, and you'll never fulfill it. And then it just destroys your self-awareness and your self-love. So that's one of the things that occurs. I mean, a lot of this I'm going to talk about in the class, and it's stuff that I've learned from other psychologists and pieces like that. But I'm also trying to put you in a position where you can take it to a spiritual and mystical level too, because most people don't talk about that part. So I like to add that piece in. But I'm going to be giving you info that is readily available, but we're going to package it up with the mystical part too. So those are some of the things that are kind of coming up right now. And I think, oh, Marion has a good one, spiritual narcissism. Yeah, we're going to talk about teachers. And we talked a little bit about that in the Healing the Feminine class that's part of the package too. I talked about the cult leaders and how cult leaders work. and how that narcissism goes into the spiritual world, and exactly how that looks, and how to identify it before you get caught into that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, yeah, this is an ongoing healing process that we're in. But the more we're open to talking about it, and the more we can own our positions in it, and then get bigger than all of it, so that we can maintain an awareness of all of these pieces, then we can actually do work to heal our communities. But it's going to be from your insides, from your inside out. It's not going to be us trying to fix those people that have actually been completely taken over by all this stuff. And again, the spiritual part is the demonic oppression, the possession. How do you know all of that? How do these things work together? How does narcissism make a huge opening for that kind of thing? So that you're not even dealing with a person anymore. You're dealing with an entity that has taken someone's body. And how sad and horrible that is. How this ought to cultivate a huge amount of compassion for all these folks who ended up trapped in this mess. But they purposefully chose these things so that we can end this polarity now. And Laura's wondering, why am I saying we're at the end of our species? Because we're at the species change. It's the 800,000 year marker. And it's time for us to, basically, we're leading the way into species change. Does that mean that like you and me and stuff, that we're it? Not exactly. Species change takes a lot of time. We're looking at the next 1,000 years. But we're the last ones who can say, I'm 100% Homo sapien, and I am, I didn't even know that there was a species change kind of thing. In the next 10 years, that's going to be common knowledge, and it's going to be really obvious. And the children that are coming through right now are very obviously far more talented and aware and awake than most of us. So we're watching a change happen now, and all this is going to be common discussion. It'll be things that we talk about, but it is slow. So it's not that, it's that we're the last ones who can say that we were hanging out as Homo sapiens before this huge shift happened, and then it's happening while we're here. So it had to start somewhere, and it started with us. And that's why I said that.
Awesome. Some great, great questions. So do you want to take some questions from the people that have their hands raised?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Sarah, you want to unmute? And we'll try, because of time and how Elizabeth is feeling, let's try and keep the questions short if possible,
Yes.
so we can get to everybody.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay. Hi there. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. I was thinking of texting you yesterday because it came up that for the 6th time that I was the prophet Eliezer a couple of thousand years ago who predicted that the temple in Jerusalem would be destroyed, which it was, but before that I was stoned to death for saying so.
Yeah.
And that it's a soul wound of fear. And it's interesting because a lot of stuff is coming up right now. And in the past 2 weeks, I had a pinched nerve. I couldn't use either arm for a couple of days.
Oh, I totally understand. I'm so sorry.
So that was a lot. But then when this came up, I thought, oh, fabulous. Now I can.
Oh, that is good news. I love that you have this remembrance.
Yeah. So, and also the 6th person just said, yesterday, and that it's a soul wound. So I'm excited about clearing it. I've been tapping. I'm not sure exactly what else to do. And the second part of that is I want to tell you, I have a relationship with my ex. It's not just making fun of him because his sons adopted me as their godmother.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all fine. I'd love to take your class, but you have it so early in the morning, and I like to be
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's true.
can't do that. Anyway, I wondered if you had any comments about healing the soul wound.
Well, when it comes to like really specific ones like that where we pan out, this is what I call the long game, right? So us souls will come in and we'll play the long game. And we'll tend to pick a polarity or two that I call like holy cow polarities. Like they're just really big. You can't fix them in a lifetime. It's going to be many lifetimes. So like mine is good and evil. And that's no joke. But for you, look out and look at the wound really specifically, go deep into it, try to find the nuances of it that happened in that lifetime and in this one. Now you have access, so you can almost treat that past life like somebody you can interview. And so in meditation, I would interview him and say, hey, me, come here, let's talk. Let's talk. And you just treat him like an old friend that you can ask anything. And you interview him and you talk about, you know, what do you wish he'd done different? What do you wish that he had, that what he would keep the same? How his martyrdom affected reality. And if he hadn't been martyred, what would have happened? Ask him these hard questions. And then ask him, what's the polarity? What's the long game? What do you and I have in common? Because there's another side to the polarity. And if you can understand the other side of it, you'll open up another set of lifetimes that actually worked in that polarity, right? So I've had many lifetimes where I'm just the purest, most evil person you could think of, and a whole bunch where I'm like super awesome and good. And there's no gray area. There's no in between, but these two keep informing each other. And we'll go into one side of the polarity in order to get certain kinds of work done. So perhaps, for example, some of the lifetimes I led where I was just super evil, I actually made huge vulnerabilities in the dark side so that later I exploited them in the light. And that's exactly what's happened in this lifetime. So these things can be for very big, long, more immense reasons than what it seems on the surface. But the good news is all of our lifetimes, you have access to them, even if you don't remember mentally, but you'll get clues like Sarah has to be able to see them. And then when you can, or when you get a little glimpse of this stuff, interview that version of you. You have the divine right to have access to all that. It's you, it's your soul. It's your soul's history. It's all there. And treat them like an old friend and ask them really hard questions. And when I've done that with my evil versions of myself, I could see so clearly why I took one for the team, why I went into the dark like that for us as humanity. And it made me feel so much better about that. But it also gave me a huge amount of compassion for those that are in the dark now, that they too are also being put into positions that they chose, and they're taking one for the team too. Souls are not innately evil in any way. So when we choose to play out a lifetime of narcissism, for example, that soul is choosing to do something that's really hard to do, and that is very thankless. But we can actually honor their soul. You don't need to honor their ego and their mess and their trauma. You honor the soul. So that's how I would approach it from here, so you can get as much out of this as possible.
Okay. It brought up that I've had this low level of fear running that I didn't even realize. And so I'm very grateful for that. And thanks. And be well. Be in touch.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. And the low level fear is always a clue, for sure.
Yeah.
It always points us very quietly, like, you should look at this. And that makes sense, that you'd be afraid to be stoned because you tell the truth in ways to your community that they don't like.
Oh, yeah. 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 I've had that in this lifetime too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, dear.
Powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Great. Super good news though on your
Okay.
part.
Love you.
Love you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. We're going to go to Eleanor. Eleanor, Joy. You want to unmute?
Oh, okay.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Eleanor.
Hi,
Nice to see you.
Elizabeth. Yeah, you too. So it's funny. Early this morning, I had a very clear intuitive hit, like no denial, that I needed to connect with you today.
I'm so
And
glad.
and I have no idea what the question is. So can I leave it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So in this case, you know, for those of you who aren't used to how I work, I just ask. And so I assume that I know nothing, which is the best way to work, especially if you're psychic, because then you can't run what you see through what you know, because there isn't anything there. But I ask, you know, what do I need to know right now? What does Eleanor need to know right now? And it could be anything, really. So I just assume I know nothing and just look on her behalf. Because sometimes we need help to see this stuff. I do. I look for help too. I mainly see some intensity in your family out kind of in the outer parts of your field. So there's some people who are not getting along. Maybe it's one of your grandchildren, perhaps. They're not getting along with family. So there's some things kind of coming to a head, is what I would say. And for you as an empath, someone said empaths are very vulnerable to narcissists. That's true. Because a lot of the times empaths can't tell what's theirs and what's not theirs. And the narcissist's very, very good at planting lots of fantasy ideas about what's yours. So then suddenly you're the narcissist. The minute you decide or discover that they are, it gets flipped around, kind of thing. So that's a good example, but it can be more subtle. It can be about different subjects. So in this case, whatever's going on with your family members, whether you're aware of it or not, the best thing that you can do as an empath is keep clearing your field. So we got to say, like, dear heart, please lift anything that doesn't belong to me out of my body and field now. And that gives you more clarity. And whether or not you're aware of some of these difficulties or not, that's what I'm seeing, is that they are happening. And so what do you do about it? Most people who are empaths, they either want to say something or they want to physically do something. They want to help. They want to try to fix it. But there's a third way. And don't underestimate how powerful blessings are. Blessings make you very much invincible. Blessings can't be used against you. Blessings can't be used against you. Us trying to help, us calling people up and saying, you know, can I help you fix this, or giving advice, these things can be held against you, but blessings can't be. So the safest way for empaths to work in the world is to just bless everything in your path. I would argue that's actually the best way to be an empath. You're going to feel lots of things, and whatever comes into your awareness or whatever's not in your awareness, you can bless all of it. And right now, I've just brought it into your awareness. So bless them. Bless all of these extended family members constantly. And I think that's something you do anyway, but I would just take it to a whole other level where it becomes a constant lifestyle where you stop worrying, because otherwise you're going to let your mind be in control. And worrying about any of this isn't going to do any good. That's your mind trying to control the situation and fix it, and it can't. So what you do is you bow to the mind, say, thank you very much. You got to step aside because I have a different way. And then from the heart, you're blessing everyone. And it creates levels and layers of protection that are impervious. Blessings cannot be destroyed. They cannot be used against you. So that's key. Plus, because these are biological family members, then you have a divine right as a big, huge source of love and power in your family, as a conduit, as a grandmother. You have a divine right to bless your family members. Now, let's say there's strangers involved. Unless they come into your, and these things come into your awareness, they don't come into your awareness for nothing. They come into your awareness so that you can bring more light to the table. So, you know, I follow prime directive. I don't tend to do anything unless I'm asked. But if something comes into your awareness field, that's God asking. That's God asking. So people mentioned Donald Trump briefly or something like that. If you're watching him, God's not asking you to stand there and think about all the ways that he's wrong. That won't help anything. He's not asking you to notice. God's not asking you to notice anything about Donald Trump. God's asking you to bless him. And what would happen if we blessed all of our leaders all the time? If we blessed every single person that came across the television, it would no longer be, or the radio or the cell phone, it would no longer be portals to suck all of our emotional responses into demonic hands anymore. They'd be very highly annoyed that I have now told you how to use this against them. So you're going to use all of this stuff to bless. Every time something pops up, especially if you have a response, a reaction, you start going into blessings mode, and you'll be free from the mind control, and you'll be free of the lies. So that's how we can turn Eleanor's situation into something for all of us. But I hope that makes sense to you, Eleanor.
Yes,
I'm sure it does.
totally. It's a total surprise what you came up with. I wasn't expecting that, but you nailed it right on the mark. Thank you.
I'm glad. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
not me. I was just seeing basically a heated energy in your extended family. And so I can't tell you details about it, but it's in the peripheral.
Yeah.
You may or may
Okay.
not find out more about it. It might not show up, but
Yeah.
it's leading me to give you that advice on how to respond to anything like that.
Oh, I love it because it can be used across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, my
Perfect.
pleasure.
Love you.
I love you too.
Awesome. Thank you, Eleanor. That was great for all of us as well. So we can all start blessing everyone and everything around us. So perfect. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Aparajita. Aparajita.
Hi, thank you so much. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi,
I'm always on
Aparajita.
your-
Gracias. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And as I was going through everything you said, it's all bang on. Like it's everything I lived through, every single thing you have talked about the
It's
narcissist.
hard.
And so my question is, I will try to keep it short. Like I understand going no contact is the best way to move on with my life and get back my power, but because he's still my daughter's father, and it makes it so complicated, for which it's not absolutely. And also the triggers are always there, always trying to create the trigger, and I'm working so hard to get through past that and begin
I got your back.
Yeah, I know I need the blessing. And also because you just talked about blessings, like he literally cursed me a few years back saying you will lose everything. So, and he literally did everything to do that, but I'm trying. So I just want to know, like, just give me some resources.
All right, so here's the first method, because I also have to co-parent. It's what we do. It's called parallel parenting. So look that term up. There's a couple of really great people online who teach this. If you go to YouTube and type in parallel parenting with a narcissist, you'll see a bunch of different videos. And there's an East Indian woman who kind of looks like you, actually. She dyed her hair, but she's very cool. And she talks a lot about parallel parenting. The second thing is, most of us, when we're in these situations, we want to know why. Why did this happen exactly? Because we want to protect our kids. Listen, your children chose both of these parents for a reason. My daughters, I can use myself as an example. My daughters chose their father and his lineage for two reasons. Most lineages, once if their father is a narcissist, then likely that's been going on throughout the lineage for a while, a long time. And the children know at a soul level, before they come and incarnate, they actually know, and we all have known, and I can actually see it very clearly now when I look at my own parents. We know exactly what we came for. And it's not just the crazy, it's also the really great superpowers. And most of these lineages who have all these horrific traumas tied to them, these used to be some of the most powerful lineages. These used to be lineages that had more light than everybody. And the dark likes to come and crash the lightest on purpose because there's more bang for their buck. There's more energy to take. When someone in the light falls that far, it's a farther fall, right? And then lastly, the lineage of your ex picked you to heal them. My ex's lineage picked me. That tells you just how powerful and how messed up they really are. Because they couldn't just pick anybody. They had to pick me of all people. So if they picked you, that's how powerful that lineage really is. The ancestors picked you because they knew you were the only one who could do the work. That's why. And your children picked you because they knew that you could do the work. Stop worrying about the kids. They're going to learn everything they need by how you react and what you do about it. And someone asked a good question, you know, how do you give blessings? I like to literally have just the sensation of quality, like goodwill or kindness or love, something simple. Goodwill is good enough. It doesn't have to be, you know, love. Goodwill, just kindness. And I imagine it as like rose petals or sparkles just falling down on them, and that's it. That's as easy as it. Just image it, imagine it, and it becomes so. But in this case, that's why this is happening. It's actually because the lineages that have fallen so far and so hard, they keep picking us to help heal them. And you, because you were married to this guy, or at least had children with him, because I have a child with someone who I didn't marry, but it still counts. His lineage picked me because they couldn't help themselves. And I can, and I'm awake enough, I can, and I have. And it's not just through the kids, though. It's through blessing that lineage over and over. They asked you to do it. They asked you to do it because they couldn't help themselves anymore. Does that make sense and resonate?
Yes, yeah, it makes really good sense. And like, so how do I move forward from it? Like, how do I move out from?
Well,
Like,
first learn about parallel parenting, because
okay.
that's going to give you a chance to have very little contact and he can't keep messing with you anymore. Secondly, you got to buffer yourself more legally. Part of the problem with, because thankfully, as the oldest of 7 children, all 6 of my younger siblings chose lots of different life paths. So I have all these different really high quality professional voices to choose from. But one of them ended up working as one of the most important people for the Attorney General of the state she lives in. And she said to me, this is something that most people need to learn. We hire lawyers to be our voice. We need to shut up. Stop talking. Because the narcissist will hook every little thing you say, and they will say all sorts of things to make you believe, well, maybe he'll be nice this time. No, it's not how it works. And so we got to keep our mouth shut, and we got to buffer ourselves with a voice or a way to have someone else speak for us to them, right? That is legal and binding. And that's why we hire lawyers, is to be our voice. He should never be contacting you at all ever again. There shouldn't be no way for him to speak to you, even through your child. There should be a lawyer speaking on your behalf. That's how we do it in the 3D. We set ourselves up, and then physically, no contact whatsoever. And then, of course, spiritually and mentally, every single time he comes in to torture you, it's not him, it's a demonic entity. You banish it with all your power, and you stand in your light, and you keep blessing and blessing, and you keep standing in gratitude because they can't do anything when you do that. And then emotionally, get a good therapist who can help you come out of the shattered fantasy that you're trying to heal from. It takes a long time to heal from it. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You need someone who can walk you out of the fantasy and show you when your thoughts are no longer your own, because it's literally like being infested by a parasite mentally. I deal with it every day still, but I'm getting better and better because I have the right tools and the right people to talk to. And I have a psychologist that I go to. I have actually like more than one. because I'm like that screwed up. Even as a practitioner, as a counselor, we can end up in this mess. That no one is so smart that they can escape this. So if anything, everyone can feel better about themselves where they're at. So that's how you set yourself up. Set it up that way, and you stick to it. You stick to it, and then it's gonna take a bit, like 6 months. You'll get better. You'll find that, oh wow, I only thought about him twice today. That's amazing. Instead of every single 15 minutes, you end up in a fight in your head with him again and again. I had this kind of stuff happen with my parents. It took me ages to get out of it mentally. And then I fell right back into the same process. And it's taken me a while to climb out of it again, but it does work, and you can. And come to my little class or whatever. Well, it's not little, but come to the class and we'll talk more about other techniques and things like that, because there's more. But that's the basics. That's the foundation of how to do this as if you're parenting with them, right? But remember, empower your kids. They chose this too. It doesn't matter how small they are. They chose it too. And you just keep showing them. I will tell you the truth. Like my daughter, she got very, very angry the other day. It was a big, huge, wild mess. Never happened before. It was very, very difficult. And in that moment, I recognized no matter what happens, if I walk away right now, she won't heal. So I stood there and I took her, she's very young. I took her abusiveness as basically a sign that she needed proof that I wasn't going to budge. And the whole time I said to her, sweetie, I'm never going to leave you. I'll never abandon you. Nothing you say or do will ever stop me from loving you. I am right here. You could do anything. You could try to hurt me. You could anything, and I won't budge. I won't leave. You'll never stop me from loving you. That was so big for her, and it transformed her. It completely transformed her, because she wasn't so sure that that was true, because she saw me leave her father and she was really scared I was going to leave her. But it didn't happen. And I could stand in that. And now she knows that that's true. Now she knows that when I tell her I will love you no matter what, that I mean it. I really mean it. So there's ways for us to work this out, but I think you get the idea so far.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I love
And
you.
blessings to everybody.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. That is so helpful for everyone, especially what you mentioned about the parallel parenting. So everyone, please do look that up for yourself as well, okay? All right, we're gonna go to Susan. Susan, you want to unmute? If you're still there, otherwise we're gonna keep going.
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
Hi, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for everything you do. I totally
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Susan's
So,
been my longtime friend. I'm glad to hear your voice.
I'm glad to hear yours too. I just wanted to say I'm open. I've made adjustments, and I'm on the path to being able to meditate again. And I
I'm
just
so
want
proud
to,
of you. Good job.
yeah. And so I just whatever I need to hear is just what I'm
You
looking
got it.
for. Thank
All
you.
right. Just big, huge hug and congratulations on trudging relentlessly out of the hole that you've suffered in so long, and now you're free of it. And so this is very simple advice that can just help you so much, I think, but it'll also give you a chance to do what you have always wanted to do, which is to be more in service to consciousness. And that's part of why I know you've suffered so much, is because we go into suffering to do that. And now you're sort of like on the edge of a cauldron, right? And so you've climbed out of this mess, you're up higher energetically, you can kind of get some bearings of where you're at, but I really want you to look at the valley that you were really in, and just psychically, emotionally, mentally turn around and examine it, because it was such a near impossible effort that you got out of that cauldron. What I really mean is that it looks like have you ever seen the big, huge meteor hole that's in the Arizona? It's a big, huge meteor hole. It's incredible. You can't go down in there because it's too steep. It's too hard to get out. But that's what I see, is that you've got out of this and you're standing on the edge of this really immense kind of big bowl. It's an impact. It's a place of impact. So that means that all the stuff you've been through is actually part of the long games. And someone asked, Jeanette says, you know, what is happening is supposed to happen. Absolutely. But we're actually healing huge amounts of our past and our lineages by doing all the suffering we've been doing. And so, Susan, turn around, take a look at all of that and examine it in recapitulation a little bit, and do a little bit of journaling where you describe what it was like being in the jungle of that mess, being in the soup, being in hell. Describe it, and then describe more to yourself in great detail with gentleness exactly what step by step looked like to get out of it. Treat it like you're writing letters to you're writing a report back to your galactic family, right? Because you kind of are. And you're simply saying, okay, this was what it was like being down there. This is how I realized, like, I had to make these changes. This is how I saved myself. This is what it took. This is what it felt like. This was what the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual looked like. This is where I'm at now, and this is where I'm heading. And then you'll be able to elevate yourself into the position where you can keep going in a much gentler way from here. But my point is that it's to do a bit of recapitulating, but treat it like you're giving a report back to the angelic, to your galactic family, to people who don't know what it's like to be human. They don't know how to be Homo sapien, Pleiadian, Syrians, angels. They don't know what being Homo sapiens like at all, but you do. And you're connected and close to them, but they need to know. And there's a lot of people like that on the call right now who have all these immense, very powerful galactic lineages and stuff, but it doesn't matter because you were the one who was sent into the fray. Because you were the one who had the guts enough to heal it and to get out of it, to get out of the mess that was presented to you. And so you're there, but while it's still fresh, write it down. Write it down. Written information, not digital. Written information is going to be very, very precious in the future. There'll be artifacts for the future humans. And so that's what you're doing. You're leaving a legacy through what you've accomplished getting out of the crater that you were in, my friend. And this is so special. It'll help you heal even more.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You got it.
I love you.
Awesome.
I love you too, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to Carrie. And I think that's something that I think we can all as well do. So a lot of these little practices or processes that Elizabeth is sharing, please do pay attention. Please listen carefully and see if it resonates with you for you to do as well. Okay. All right, Carrie, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep,
I
we
can.
can.
Hi, Carrie.
Yes. I didn't know I was going to ask this, but I guess this is a question about my site.
Oh, good.
few weeks, there have been some things going on and things are just clicking a little bit. So I'm just going to explain that, okay?
Please.
I have had some blurring, which causes cataracts. Evidently, I needed some cataract surgery, so I'm in the process of going through and scheduling that. Okay.
Good.
But at the same time, I had a blood vessel burst in my right eye
Oh yeah.
a week ago. And some of these things are saying things to me, okay? That what is it I'm not seeing? There are some things that are happening and I need to eliminate that. So I'm taking care of it with having the cataract surgery. But also at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what am I not seeing now? Is there something that's bursting open here for me, you know, in the future coming forward? I have an
Yes, you got it.
Sedona, and
Yeah.
I going to be some things happening there because I've never been before and I'm excited. But also something's happening in the night sky. The eastern sky I have been seeing for the last couple of weeks when I look out and it's dark and it's sometimes earlier in the morning, midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm a late bird, and I'll look out and there was something in the sky and I thought, okay, it's not moving. What is this? Is this a starship? Is this a spacecraft? Is this a drone? What is this? So I've just been following that. And there's a sense about it that tells me this is a spacecraft. And I don't know, Elizabeth. And it's like, okay, am I supposed to be seeing something there or connecting with something there? So I guess that's my question to you. What might be with me?
Yes.
Maybe
So
see or see differently.
yeah, I got you. So first and foremost, what Carrie's alluding to is that spiritual, emotional, mental things will occur for quite a long time, and then they will manifest. And I use that particular word on purpose because most people who've learned from me know I really don't like the concept of manifesting at all. But the word is appropriate in this case, where there's a projection from all of the different kinds of traumas of mental, emotional, spiritual stuff going on. And then eventually it begins to manifest physically as a projection in the 3D. And that'll show up as dis-ease, right? So cataracts are, I used to work at an eye doctor for many years. And cataracts, most doctors will tell you cataracts happen to everyone. Problem is that that's not actually true. And it's a diabetes of the eye. And then when you have blood vessels that are going to, if they burst in the eye or whatever, you're dealing with weakness in the eyes that are manifest of other problems that were mental, emotional, spiritual that might not have even seemed related to your eyeballs, but the eyes took on the physical presentation, the projection of those problems. This goes on and on for any kind of disease, really, and including genetic disorders that seem impossible to heal, like the kind of stuff that I've talked to people about for myself and others. So that's like, well, why is it happening? And then secondly, the key here is that the only way you're going to discern, because the key around sight is discernment. People relate sight to being able to perceive truth. That's only 1/3 of the way true. Sight can only give you 1/3 of the truth. And the other 2/3 come from the heart and the gut. So it means that your full body discernment has been dependent on your mind.
Yes.
And you gotta now switch it up. You can't depend on your sight to give you truth. You never could. It's just that we had to learn, all of us have had to learn these hard lessons. And so if I were you, I would back up a lot. I'd back up away from the problems, away from the phenomena, because you're seeing something physically and you're saying, is this true? What is this? You're trying to discern the truth, which is exactly the issue you've been having, is that you keep discerning with your mind, and now you get an opportunity. It's right in front of you to discern in a new way. And you've had many opportunities to try to discern in a new way. And now you're going to have to, because you don't have a choice. Now you forced yourself in a corner. You have to discern with your heart and your gut too. So if I were you, I would bow to my mind. I would bow to my eyes. I'd bow to my third eye and say, thank you very much, but I cannot use you right now to discern this. I need my heart and my gut to tell me what's true. And so you come up with yes or no questions. Yes, not open-ended questions, yes or no questions. And you start asking your heart more questions. You start asking your gut more questions. Ask questions you know the answer to first. Ask yes questions and no questions. Ask questions that you know the answer is no. Ask questions that you know the answer is yes. Then you'll be able to feel it. You'll get used to how your heart and your gut discern the truth. And then the next piece is that the best way to truly get full discernment isn't always from ourselves or our body, it is through service. You had some really good questions that you started with, and you need to find someone that is willing to exchange a service with you, right? And what that means is, I did this with my friend the other day. She said, Elizabeth, I can help you, but we have to go through a series of questions, because she's a shaman. And so she has a very strict mode of operating. I'm very much more like wild than she is, but she has a very strict mode of operating. And in order to help me, she has to help me. In order to help herself, she has to help me first. And that's one of the modes of operating. And I find it very deeply profound. And what she said is, I have these questions to ask, and I can give you the answers. And in return, I can ask the same questions of her field and give her answers. So then we can help each other through exchange. So you need to find somebody that you're willing to do that with. And the questions are, what can I truly see? What can I not see at all? What's in my peripheral vision? Who can see me? And who does not see me at all? And those questions will give you a lot more answers to some of the questions you've been having, including what's in the sky. And if I were you, I wouldn't tell anybody about them, because then when you get the really clear answers, when people actually psychically see with their full body discernment what's happening, they're going to see that. They're going to see that there's something you're perceiving, that it either can't see you, but you can see it, or it can see you and you can see it. But there's going to be something deeper for you to learn. And the way that you're going to get better at seeing is, and to actually clean all this up in your body, is to be in service. So you can answer those questions for others. And by doing so, it makes room for you to receive the truth. And then you'll get used to this full body discernment, and your eyes will heal. And the surgery is okay. It's necessary. Plus, it's totally modern and so fast now. Cataract surgery is really straightforward these days. And I'm glad you're going ahead and just getting it done. But let's make sure they don't come back.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Makes sense, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for clarifying some things, because I started remembering, quite some time ago, I was reflecting on why I had blurry vision in the middle of 7th grade and could not see the board. And then there was sexual energy and just different things happening, whatever was happening at the time. And I've always wondered, okay, why? And I had a sense about some things around that, right? And now I know, just in a physical sense, the cataracts, because we have been living in boxes, okay, and not in as much. And I've known the physical thing because I follow things in health and wellness. And so I've known about that. And so I did attempt to, within, say, okay, I want to dissolve and resolve these cataracts myself. Okay.
Absolutely.
But, and actually, for the last week or so, 2 weeks or whatever, it seems to be working somewhat. I don't have as much double vision. It isn't quite as blurry, okay? But I have decided to go ahead with the surgery, like you said. I want to just let it all go, start fresh, and open up to what I need to really see and be seen by, like you said. And so that really helps. I have somebody in mind even.
Oh, good.
That I'm meeting tonight. She deals with fifth dimensional Kundalini galactic stuff. And I've talked with her.
Oh, the perfect person then.
Yes, so
just say, let's do it. Let's do an energetic exchange.
Yes. And
right?
so, yes. And so I'm going to see if she's open to that and see what happens. So thank you so much. I follow you, and I just listened to our lengthy, lovely conversation on Sunday. And I'll be seeing you again on November 5th when we do the inner realm.
I'm very pleased. Thank you. And last thing, for anyone who's dealing with cataracts or diabetes or these things, insulin is a very, very precious energy that has many more attributes to it than most people realize. But the pancreas is the seat of grief. So we can examine that as part of our cleanup of the diabetic issues that arise. Alzheimer's, the diabetes of the brain, cataracts are the diabetes of the eyes, etc. So there's quite a lot that we can do, but grief is a collective issue, and that's why we're having more and more and more diabetes stuff, because like people are starting to realize we're here trying to clean up the 800,000 years of stuff that's happened in our experiment. It's time. That's what we're doing. That's why we are the transition team.
You got awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Carrie. That was great. Lara?
Laura.
Thank you. Thanks, Shefali. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, I love your rainbow scarf background. Always.
Thank you. It's a good way for people to remember me too, right?
Indeed.
You and John both. I mean, you know, I love you and adore you, and
thank you.
So whatever comes up.
Whatever needs to be seen. Sure. This one's interesting because it has to do with power, right? So when we have had like the codependent stuff that I know you and I share, we also share experience around addiction, which is it's what happens to people when they don't have ritual context with people who have spiritual position and power in society, like priests, priestesses, and shamans. When we have watched the systematic destruction of ritual context and the priest and priesthood positions in our societies, then we end up with addiction. And so addiction is it's not an ancient issue, it's a modern issue. And addiction plays right into codependency, narcissism, all of it, right? And we replaced the priests and priestesses with corporations and cartels who are innately through and through totally narcissistic. All right, so there's other ways we give our power away simply because of the foundation still having cracks in it, right? And so what is the foundation? It's actually self-love, which is the key to self-preservation. And it's not exactly what it seems. So self-love is both the soul appreciating itself, but it's also the soul loving the body. And when the soul is cut off from being able to share that love and knowledge with the body through programming, through trauma, through addiction, then we end up not having that foundation very strong And even if we do lots and lots and lots of work on our mind, we get out of addiction, we get out of bad relationships, right? We're in the garden, we can start to see the paradise. We'll also find other beings to give our power away to because they're so mysterious. And I'm talking about fairies, and I'm talking about leprechauns, and I'm talking about angels. I'm talking about the fifth dimensional beings, because all three of those, they all live in the fifth dimension. And so what's the fifth dimension? The fifth dimension's tricky. It's outside of time. It's a realm of all possibility. There's lots of entities that come from there. They're very powerful. They really like power. Metatron's one of them. Everyone's like, Metatron's an angel. I'm like, no, he's not. If you get to know Metatron, he's not anything like an angel. He's not that. I don't understand why people think he's an angel. But what I realized is that he's got enough ego that if people call him an angel, he just lets them, right? And that's what's happened. Metatron's simply a fifth dimensional being. He's a being outside of time. He has a lot of power over possibilities. Some of what he says is true. Some of it's not. Fairies are kind of like that too. Angels are a bit more tricky because they're from a different dimension than the fifth. They're from the seventh dimension. But angels are only going to give you data when you ask. And we're not really taught much about how to talk to angels at all. It's not just a free-for-all. You have to be really careful because angels have an angel agenda. Fairies have a fairy agenda, not a Homo sapien agenda. Anyone who's not in a human body does not have a human agenda. They don't have your well-being 100% in their mind. It doesn't mean that you can't, do exchange with them. But remember that when you do exchange with these kinds of beings, it's very tricky because they like to have lots of fine print, and they certainly would rather you be in service to them in the long run than the other way around. They want to do less work, right? So like, for example, I moved to Ecuador, and the first house I moved in, the fairies stole all my forks. They stole all my forks, so I only had one fork and the rest was spoons, and they thought it was quite funny. And then I replaced my forks and they stole them all again. And I was like, wait a minute, I think we're dealing with fairies. So I put chocolate and honey out, and I'm like, can I get my forks back? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's not very fair because I put chocolate and honey out. And they're like, well, you'll never be able to pay back the trouble that you've caused by showing up here without talking to us and asking permission and all this stuff, right? So they're naturally apt to try to create debts with humans because they already think we're indebted to them. And at the same time, there's many who incarnated as humans. Many of you have had fairy lifetimes, and there's a deep dislike for humanity. At the same time, they also really want it to be healed. So they're very contrary, and they'll flip-flop around quite a bit. So they're not really great friends, but if you want to create allies, we always have to be in an exchange. So then when I moved to the next place, I made sure that before anything happened, I was making offerings to them immediately. And that made sure that I kept my forks and my head and everything intact. But the point being is that even when you're going past all of the mess that we've been in addiction and trauma and codependence, don't fall for externalizing all your power to the Pleiadians and the Sirians and the fairies and the angels. Stop it. They're not Homo sapiens. You are Homo sapien. Instead, treat it as a round table and say, if you can meet me in equanimity, then we can get some stuff done. But I'm the executive director. You're the ones who came to me. You need me. I don't actually need you because I'm surrounded by other Homo sapiens. but you need me for a reason so that you can get stuff done. Let's help each other. If you're willing to stand in your power and love yourself enough to do so, then the externalization of power won't trip you up anymore, and you won't grovel to anyone anymore. It'll always be in equanimity. And so, Laura, what you can do to make this even more poignant is to take me off your pedestal real fast and put me as your friend at your round table where we're in equanimity, because you have wisdom that I don't have. You have a voice that I don't have. You have a frequency that I can't ever be, and vice versa. So we have mutual respect, mutual power. That's how we end this mess. There's no more hierarchy any longer. It's not going to be a utopia. Some people will be more skilled than others. Some people will be more awake. But those who are awake are so compassionate that they naturally want to constantly draw people to do better and draw them to awaken, and so can you. But you do it with the fairies and the angels too. Pleiadians and the Sirians too. You're drawing out their awakening too. They're not perfect. They are not more powerful at all. So that's what I see.
Thank you. I definitely, you're absolutely 100% right. So.
And so are you. You
I love
it.
you.
I love you too very much. Always. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. So much information. Oh my goodness. Where are we? Okay, so I just want to take a few minutes, Elizabeth, and talk about the package.
Yeah, let me do it. Sure, for
Let
sure.
let me go to my screen, and I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. All right, so this is Elizabeth's package is the Healing Our Communities package. So I'm going to let you share, talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. So first are some stuff that's already happened that will be useful to you, that you can really use to recreate your life in a lot of ways. All of this has come up because over the past few years, as I've been teaching, I'm seeing these patterns, and finally a lot of things have wrapped up in my life so that I can actually speak with wisdom. But the first class is Healing the Children. There's 3 that are part of a 3-part series, a 6-part series, excuse me. And the first one is Healing the Children, Healing the Masculine, Healing the Feminine. These are 3 very deep classes I dig right in. Healing the Children, it's all about the different structures that have kept children in bondage and how they are really the most important keystone to ending the Dark Order's power over us. Healing the Masculine, I'm trying to give a gentle take on how to help the masculine, what's happened to them, why they've been in an existential starvation. What do we do about it? What do men do about it for themselves? What do women and the people around them do? And how we can actually begin to build that bridge between them and the feminine. And then healing the feminine, what's been going on with the women. It's also similarly incredibly detailed and profound information, and we dig deep into the extreme power that the feminine has, and what kinds of what kinds of society pieces that we got to learn from our past. For example, I talk a lot about Delphi, I talk about Avalon, I talk about cults and why these things happen the way they have, but it's also, again, practical pieces that can be implemented now so that it's not so etheric and difficult to bring to a 3D daily level. Then we have 3 live classes as part of that series. And so the next one is going to be Healing Relationships and Sexuality. And then one after that, Healing Narcissism, Possession, and Our Lineages. And then lastly, Healing Our Communities. And for those of you who have written me about the autistic kids, right, the neurodivergence that we are very now more conscious of, it's been around, but now we're more conscious of it. That's going to be included in the Healing Communities part, because they are included in the healing of our communities. So I want you to know that that's part of it. And then there's going to be some pieces that support everything I've taught so far and everything I'm going to teach. And the first bonus is the Divine Rights Retreat. That's a good 6-hour-long retreat. The Divine Laws Retreat, same. I talk about what are your rights as a human being? What are your rights as a soul in this universe? There are universal level laws and rights that you have, that all beings have. And that once you know them, you get to play outside the matrix. You can walk right out of jail, right? And be able to actually function in reality in a totally different way. And then I have the 12 templates of the golden age, and these are all really important. Some of them that many people ask me about all the time. Karma, how I talk about attention. Well, what does that even mean? How important and powerful is your attention? What is conscious death? How does the body act as a map to all the different problems you're going through, right? Like, how did our friend's eyes earlier represent a whole bunch of other problems mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? How exactly does that work? There's 12 of these very important pieces that are on the table. Universal compassion is one of them. These things are really important because they're the foundation that we're going to build the golden age on. The kingdom of heaven on earth is built upon these templates. And there's 12 classes. All of them, my classes tend to go pretty long, 4 or 5 hours, sometimes longer, where I'm answering questions. And then lastly, there's two parts to this class as well: healing the wound of shame and scarcity, and healing the wound of slavery and fear. I talk about 3D stuff. I talk about money. I talk about community. I talk about exactly how historically all these things played out. We touched on it a little bit with Cain, but this piece is really key because I give you real 3D actual things that you can be doing to heal these wounds and come out of all of this into real generosity and abundance, real power that's not going to be power over at others' expense. You know, all of these pieces that we've been talking about today get played out in those 2 classes as well. So many, many, many hours of support right now that if you take this package, you can actually spend the next year implementing and playing with all these pieces. And then come join me for the 3 live classes too, because we're going to cover some really key pieces, and then your questions can get answered. Most of the time I get through them. Sometimes I don't, but that's my goal right now, is to set everyone up so that our communities can be healed. It starts with you. It's an inside job. And I tend to really focus in on a lot of history at first, because I believe if we know our past, then we can make sure our future's better. But I'm all about being practical, because I'm a mom with kids and animals and a boyfriend and life. We got to have a real practical way to live. But this is it. This is, if I could create a package that would help people live fully a completely different way and start to build the kingdom of heaven now, this is it. This is that package with all these pieces here.
Awesome. Wow. There's so much wisdom here. There's so many, the teachings, everything is so complete in all these classes, the instant access as well as the live classes that are coming up. So this is, like you said, this is a full package, and this will take you a while to get through everything. But the thing is, once you start, there's practical advice, there's practical tips, there's practical processes that you can start to work on yourself so that you can be that, you know, we were talking about the evolution of your consciousness, the evolution of your being, and be more evolved, right? So there's the payment plan available, like always. And if you're an Inner Circle member, again, please use your gift code. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. There's like so much here. And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's so much information, but there's the tools and the processes and the tips that we can start to use in our day-to-day life. That I think is what we can start to implement and start changing our present and our future, right? So
Yes, exactly.
I just absolutely love that. Yes, thank you. I'm just going to share the link in the chat just in case people need it. It's just because sometimes people can't always see everything. There was a question here. I lost it. But anyways, I thought somebody. Oh, Hold on. No, I don't know. I thought I saw something, but it's okay. All right. Do you have time for a few more quick questions, or are you good?
Yeah, let's do. I have energy for 3 more folks.
Awesome. Right. So Rebecca, you want to unmute?
I'm unmuted, and
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you so much to both of you and all of us.
Thank you, Rebecca.
God bless you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
My question is just what needs to be seen
You got
right
it.
now.
Well, there's a part of you coming up who's really, really hurt and sad and worried about the earth. And so many people have come here for the earth. They didn't come here for humans. They didn't come here for animals or plants. They came here for the earth. Which that means that if someone's coming for the earth, they have a really deep relationship with the planet. They have a lot of what we would say skin in the game. It matters a lot to them what the earthly outcomes are. And so the answer to that is, first, bring her into council with you more often, every day, if necessary. Get her counsel so that you get to know her strength better, because she is very much personified. She has a voice, and we all have access to it, especially those of us in female bodies. We are conduits for that voice. But more so, interview her. Ask her the hard questions. Ask her why she's allowed certain things or why certain things have happened. And you'll find out some of the things that I too have had to discover, because I've worried about the earth too. Some of the things that I've asked were, well, what about plastic? Was one of my biggest questions. I was like, I'm worried about plastic. We're talking about like a 4.5 billion year half-life and all this stuff. And I'm like looking at microplastics, and I've seen a lot of fear kicked up around plastic. And now the Dark Order is just consuming our fear around plastic. It's even worse. So it was like we're going to make the problem, and then we're going to make worse problems, and then we're going to fear monger you until we can just keep consuming your fear. And it's the perfect formula. And so when I asked Earth about plastic, what she said to me was, she first started laughing. And she said, you don't remember exactly who I am. And I said, clearly. So please, I have forgotten I'm dense. Talk to me like I'm 5. And she said, I am the great magnifier of power, but I'm also the great dissolver. And she made me remember that the water in her embodiment is not earthly water. It is galactic water, and water has memory. The earth has the memory of the galaxy in it. And she magnifies all of that memory, but she also dissolves everything into her embodiment. And she said, what do you think I'm going to do to the plastic? And I said, you're going to dissolve it. And she says, yeah. And do you really think I need 4.5 billion years to do that? And I said, no. She said, everything you all think you do to me, to bother me and create problems is really nothing. It's basically like you think you dig too deep and take my oil or whatever, and all you did is just like scratch me, scratch an itch. You know, she's like, you got as far as one layer of a flake of skin. So she's trying to remind us of her true nature and her true power. Furthermore, she says, I've let you borrow all these things. I bring it all back to myself immediately, including your own body. She's like, I let you borrow all the biome that you're using in your body. I let you borrow the oil, and you created novel, cool things out of it named plastic, and I take it back home too. And I let you borrow the crown jewels. And one day, what do you think is going to happen to that, Elizabeth? I said, it's going to come back to you. She said, that's right. Even the crown jewels, I let you borrow it. So don't underestimate her in any way. In fact, we have a lot more to learn from her. I certainly do, because I'm not here for the planet. I'm here to save DNA and help humanity. But she is the one who facilitates everything. And then lastly, every single thing we do, especially those things that we think we're doing it alone, we're never alone. She always plays a role. She's always there. She's always there, 100% of the time. My father's a war historian, and he used to take me to battlefields so that I could like find stuff for him, because I can psychically see things. And he took me to Custer's battlefield with my family a few years ago, and we were walking around, and he was describing the terrain and all these incredible details about all these soldiers and step by step how it all worked. And I said to him, Dad, would you say that the terrain itself, that the earth itself played a role in that battle? And he said, yes, absolutely, 100%. That Custer would not have lost that battle if it weren't for the terrain and the earth playing a role in that situation. And it is no different with anything we do, anything at all. She's always there. She's always playing a role. So those are the things that I'm being asked to tell you, Rebecca, and to open yourself up more to the celebration of the earth's power, Gaia's power, and not to be sad for her, but rather to interview her as your friend, as your mother, a true mother to you, to heal your mother wound, and to help you understand her role in your life that we have all missed. We've all missed this. We haven't been taught this. In the next iteration of humanity, the earth will be included. Every single thing we do shall be included. And we haven't been doing that, but we can start now. So that's what I see for you. I hope that resonates.
Thank you. I have to add that there's an urgent situation in my life that I was hoping might come through in terms of what to do.
Certainly, if that's the case.
How to survive it, really.
If you need more insight, let's get together. Yeah, and you know that money shouldn't block you. So come write my assistant, write me on my website, and let's talk so I can help you with your personal situation, and write me an email and I can put more insight into that. But usually with these kinds of public situations, the really personal readouts of the traumatic situation might not have come up because it needed to be done in private. So that's
I think
okay.
so.
Yeah. So
Thank
write me an
you.
email. Yeah, of course.
Where do I write?
So my email is elizabeth@seerandscientist.com.
Okay.
I'm writing it in the chat.
Oops.
That's my email. Just write me about your situation. Jump right into it. Write as long of an email as you need. And let me see how I can help.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my job.
And I'm trying to turn off I'm trying to mute myself now.
Don't worry, Rebecca.
But I
I'll
got
do it.
the beach ball.
It's okay. I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Oh, you did it. Perfect. All right, Asha, you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Asha.
Hi. I'm going to be really quick. Anything that comes up for my greatest and highest good.
Okay. So pretty much all the readouts I've been doing today, I keep seeing a common thing going on. And it's no different in your case, where there's this really intense background energy going on. And in this case, it's like kind of pouring into your household and personal life. And it probably feels like, who turned up the volume in consciousness? And I think it's actually part of the stuff people have been really worried about. It came up a little bit earlier, someone seeing a spaceship, these kinds of things, these big galactic questions are popping up. Probably because 3i Atlas and all that stuff going on in space at the moment, which is all very valid. But I see this incredible intensity that you're probably aware of, but you hadn't really put your finger on it. And this intensity does feel like a dialing up of the volume of energy. So what's going on? Well, it's because we're now at an exponential level of change, and it's only happened in the past like few weeks. Now that it's hit the next cadence, it's hit the next level of volume. It's hit the next iteration, and it's going to continue to happen faster now. So what does that mean? It means that there is other energies outside of our awareness field that are coming in, and I would call it the galactic current sheet. So if we're talking about physical, if we want to attribute it to a physical thing, it's the galactic current sheet. So our planet and our solar system's in the middle of a huge sine wave. And this sine wave is a measurable electromagnetic field that is really, really powerful, that comes from the black hole at the center of our galaxy. So now I'm talking about astrophysics, right? And normally when we're going through our cycles, we'll go through this galactic current sheet at different times. And right now it's in the middle of what's called a Dwarpa Yuga. So we're coming out of the big donut of material around the edge of the galaxy. And we're just now starting to come out of it. Dwarpa Yugas are denoted by change, immense change, by wars, by people starting to wake up and figure stuff out, and destructions of different kinds of structures and the building of new structure. So Dwarpa Yugas are immense amounts of change. But it's very unusual for a Dwarpa Yuga to be punctuated by the 12,000 year mark. So Dwarpa Yugas can happen in and out of these big galactic wavelengths. And so what's happening is that everything now is happening all at once. So there's many, many, many cycles ending and beginning at the same time as we're now coming out of the Kali Yuga, which is a very dark time where we're cut off from the literal light from the galaxy. So we're coming out of that. We're starting to peak every day. A little more light comes from the galaxy, but we're also at the 12,000 year mark, which is a pole shift, and a bunch of other marks. An 800,000 year mark is ending now. It's the mark of a new species. It's all happening all at once. That's why you don't have anything in your DNA telling you how to navigate this, because this has never happened before. Not to anyone. So we're literally at the edge of the newest of the newest of the new in consciousness. That's why you feel a little crazy every day, right? So Asha, hang on to your panties here. You came for this. It's really, really good. You're going to learn more than you ever thought you'd ever learn in the next 3 months. And that goes for all of us. It's now. We're going to learn more than we've learned in the past decade combined in the next 3 months. And then as 3i Atlas comes around real quick in December, right around the solstice, do you think that was an accident? It was not. It's not an accident. All these things are going to continue to be revealed. And then as we come into the next year, it's a very powerful year of renewal. It's a year of the rest of the matrix falling apart and humanity deciding what we want to do. So all this is creating a lot of pressure on our personal lives. And it's hard for us to get a glimpse of this stuff because, you know, who the heck knows about astrophysics and anthropological cycles and this stuff? There's certain people who are doing that, like perhaps myself. There's lots of others that are like that, but this is not average data. Nobody has time to go read astrophysics and take plasma classes. Like, nobody has time for that. So it's okay for you to feel like stuff's just nuts. The best way for us to navigate this at the moment is to be in total acceptance that we are now so far beyond the genetic lineages and what they can offer us. We're not even in the same arena as the people who came before us, even the last generation before us. So my grandparents, they wouldn't even be able to grasp the concepts we're talking about at the moment, which is why they checked out, right? So the last generation that passed on, we're actually eons ahead of them when it comes to how much pressure we're under and how much new information. We're in a completely new arena altogether. So you're not supposed to get it. You're supposed to be right along shoulder to shoulder with all of us at the edge of consciousness. There is no one that is ahead of you. There is no one who's behind you. We're all on the edge. We are linked together. We have to take the leap. So whatever's going on in your life right now, if it seems extra nuts every day, that's why, because you're in a completely new arena that cannot be informed by your genetic lineage. We can only heal our genetic lineage so we can be more present, but the ancestors can't help us right now. We're in a completely new time, right? Does that make sense, Asha, and resonate?
It does. Absolutely. Very spot on, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so just kind of when the levels of nuts are just like way out of normal control of anything, just own it. Be there, be present, be like, all right, I'm the captain of the ship. We got to navigate the storm that is now. And we're in a new place in the ocean we've never been in before. Let it be so. It's my divine right to navigate the best that I possibly can each day and succeed at evolution. It's your divine right. So that's your mantra. It's my divine right to navigate this day, this place, right now. Because you can. You're the captain, right? So be a commander. Be a commander. Sometimes that means you have to raise your voice a little so people can actually notice that you're really, really conscious of how dangerous the waters are at the moment. They're tricky and they're new. And nobody can tell you where to go from here. No one. There are no gurus or teachers. The best ones are going to be the ones like who actually are human and are like, yeah, I have tons of problems right now too. Let me tell you about them. And so let's fix it together type thing. Those are the people it's going to be fellow captains who are like, all right, we got to hold it together the best we can, but we're in new waters and every day it's brand new.
Definitely makes sense and encouraging. Just kind of doing the best that you can, best of your ability, and just go with it. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, we're taking a leap. And remember that every day is completely brand new in consciousness. Nothing like it has ever happened before.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Shefali.
You're welcome.
Yep, thank you. And it's so true right now. It's like there's so much going on for everybody, and it's like, we just got to find that strength within us and just keep going, but accepting what is at the same time. So Tina, I think you're the last one.
Well,
Hi,
what is
Tina.
it? Hi. What is it that I need to hear that I'm not getting or not hearing?
You got it. It's a good way to approach stuff. It's how I ask stuff too. Like, all right, what am I not getting?
Without the sledgehammer hitting me.
Yeah, exactly. Tina, it's the different addiction energies in your family lines around you and in you and all these pieces around addiction. Really hone in on the idea that addiction really is anchored in guilt. And let me give you an example. This is the best way I can describe it. So there's all sorts of addiction, right? And I've had lots of different kinds of clients. Some who are addicted to really extreme drugs, others, who are addicted to like tobacco, cigarettes and things, or vaping. Others, I had a young woman who was really addicted to cocaine, and she was really brave and got on the phone with me. And, these kinds of folks, addictions with marijuana, addictions with alcohol. There's a long list of things that are possible to get addicted to. What they all have in common, and the hard drugs and the hard alcohol does not fall into this category. All of those actually were taken from originally whole plants or whole substances, right? So like originally, these were all communions of the earth. Why? How do we know that? Because we all have receptors, all of us, whether you've used it or not, you have receptors for all of the different compounds in variety. And it's not just THC. There's a lot more going on in the marijuana plant than THC. It's not just wine or beer. There's a lot more compounds in wine or beer than just alcohol. And same with all these different things. Now, on the extreme side are the hallucinogens like ayahuasca and there's ibogan and psilocybin and stuff like that. Even LSD has been derived from molds. So all of these things have compounds that are from the earth directly that we have a long relationship with even before Homo sapiens were on the earth. All the different beings that we gathered data from, Neanderthals, Homo erectus, Homo floresiensis, Homo habilis, all these different beings that came before us, our cousins, we actually depended on their survival mechanisms that in order to set ourselves up to survive on Earth. And they had long relationships with these substances too. So the guilt part is actually a sign that someone's connected with these very powerful sources of connection to God and to the earth, but it's been out of context, or it's been taken out of context. These hard drugs did not exist until now, right? And it's actually part of the warfare against the continuation of the priestess and priesthood skill set of human beings. So my take on addiction is completely different than I've heard anyone talk about. I've actually been looking, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it in the anthropological context that I teach it in. But in short, the way we can heal it, whether we have gotten over addictions, whether we still have them, whether the people around us have them, whether they seem really extreme or not, first and foremost, it's no one's fault that these things have occurred. It's because of the systematic destruction of the priest and priesthood class, and therefore the removal of the ritual context from which all of these things were used, which means that these substances were used in sacred space, in sacred ritual, with someone helping you, a priest or priestess or shaman, in order to create a permanent connection to the ancestors and God. That's what they were used for. They weren't used to have fun. They were not used to do anything else but create a temporary connection to God, and then there were steps taken in the ritual context to make it more permanent. This is provable according to all sorts of anthropological stuff that I can back it up by. But how do we fix this? What are you supposed to do? You've got all this addiction surrounding you and your family. And first and foremost, the way you can heal it's inside job, right? Inside of you. The first step is to release your guilt. Release the guilt you've carried for your lineages. and offer it up. It's a huge bundle of gold. It's heavy, it's difficult, you don't need to carry it anymore. Hand it off to God, do a ritual to do that. Make a beautiful little fire, write it all down, put the word guilt on a piece of paper and burn it and say, God, take this. Take it and turn it into miracles for me and my family. The next step after that is to empower yourself. Once you're free of the guilt, now you have room. Now you have room for empowerment. That's the other side of the polarity you're here to tackle, Tina, is guilt versus empowerment. So you empower yourself and you say, I am the priestess of my family. No one needs to take that position but me. For now, I am the priestess. And all the people in your family, they can be priests and priestesses too, but they need you to do it first. You're going to have to do it. So you stand in your power and you own it and you say, I'm the priestess. And what does a priestess do? She uses ritual as technology to get stuff done. The priestess also allows God to decide what she's going to be up to. She doesn't, she waits for the signs. So you're here to sync up with all those signs you keep getting, all the signs that led you to come onto the interview today, all the little signs, right? You get lots of signs. I can see that. That's good.
Yeah.
You're right on track. So you listen to the signs and then you keep creating ritual space every single day. It is your new job. It's your job. Every morning you create a ritual space. You can create a little altar and you change it every day. Every evening you wrap it up. You start offering up all the different suffering of your family. You write it down, you burn it. God, take this, turn it into miracles. And then you replace it with beautiful things. God, take this, turn it into the truth. And then you bury it and you say, Gaia, Earth, help me, turn this, magnify it. I told you earlier, Gaia is a great magnifier of power. So you give her the data and let her run with it. She will magnify it into your family lineage. You don't have to tell anybody that you're doing this.
Right.
It's yours. You do it. You're the priestess. And then you're going to see miracles happen. You're going to start seeing crazy things that no one in the family thought were going to be able to happen, or things that no one thought could be healed will be miraculously healed. And then you're going to be able to step into that and then start to share with your family how this works. So that's what I see. That's like the really short, dirty, fast version of how to heal addiction. But that's part of what you're here to do.
It makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. And yeah, wow. And
here's something too. So like for me, like when I am craving alcohol, because I've used alcohol as a painkiller, physical painkiller, which is tricky because that's a mess. It could turn into it can be a whole big mess, as you can imagine. But what I'll do is I'll create a ritual sacred space. I won't go drink while I'm doing certain things. Instead, I will, and I try not to do it socially, though that's not always the case, right? It was my birthday the other day and we bought lots of wine and it was super fun, but it was kind of a ritual, it was a birthday ritual. And so I kind of saw it that way. So, but any substances, so if it's tobacco, whatever, you bring it into the ritual space and maybe you are using it. So like, let's say you smoke. So then you do it in a ritual context. And as you're smoking, you pray and you say, God, let this tobacco give me closer to you. Let me get closer to the earth. This is a communion of the earth to get me closer to you. Thank you. And as you're smoking, you're in pure gratitude. You see how the darkness has taken it over, and as people are smoking, they end up feeling bad about themselves and they're guilty and all this stuff, and they feel bad and they don't really want to be addicted to it. And then the corporations and the demonic, they just feed off of that. But what would happen?
It's so funny you're saying that, because this is the exact conversation I had about nicotine the other day with somebody.
You nailed it. Good.
It's like
It's a sign.
our bodies actually have nicotine receptors in it and actually help heal. So like they made nicotine such an awful, and I've always, when my partner was alive, I used to say to him, You know, some of these things, like the substances and stuff, like you were different that you talked about, and him and I would discuss, and him and I even, did in the past. But I said, how they got to go to the spirit world was because they smoked peace pipes, or they did. It was all a natural thing. It wasn't
Right.
so
And you were right
harmful.
on the money. It was right. The next step is, and then there was ritual context. So they were using it to get stuff done.
Right.
They were using it as part of their prayers. So
Right.
then use it as part of your prayer. Use it as through perfect gratitude. Use it in ritual context. Create a ritual space where you're actually putting up a sacred circle. You're inviting certain beings to come and support you. You're working with the earth because it belongs to her. The tobacco comes from her. The grapes come from her. The wheat comes from her. The marijuana comes from her. The ephedra, the ayahuasca, it all comes from her. Right. And then you're supported by that, but it's all through prayer. It's all through ritual context. It's part of what we call communion.
Right. Well, I don't even really smoke, but I would like to. I would like occasionally just to have a tobacco, but the cigarettes are so bad. And I'm like, I really want to find some place
And you
where I can
just
get
get
my
the
own
highest
tobacco.
quality, right?
Yeah.
That's
But,
part of the
and then I'll
other
take,
cleaning up of addiction.
if I do get cigarettes, I take them and I have these crystal mats that I charge them, and that should take all the toxins and stuff out of it. But it's the filters and stuff. But I've always said that for years, like I just wish I could find it. Maybe I should just go to the Amish farm down the road and see if they have tobacco
ask them. I bet you for sure.
Yeah.
Precisely that.
Yeah.
But you get the idea and just run with it. It's already in the field. It's already happened. The conversation. Now this is just a sign again that you're right on track.
Right. Thank you
But
very much.
You are the priestess of your family. Be that.
That's
own it.
pretty powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You got it. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
I may
for
actually
those
have to
of
get
you,
it. I have something personal going on. I may write to you and see if I can get a little bit of
Please
wisdom.
write me.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and for those of you who want more training around addiction, there's a really specific class that I taught that's under the Quantum Healing Revolution series that I taught, and it's it's a standalone class about addiction, where I walk you through this in far more greater detail. What I just showed you was very like a very short little piece, but there's much more available to you. And also the package that I'm teaching right now helps too. But there is an approach to addiction that I think can help us in the long run for our communities.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, Tina. That was new information for people, I'm sure, and a great way to look at, your experience and who you are and what you're here to do as a priestess for your family, and start to heal through ritual all the different things that still need healing, right? So I just think this whole conversation has been so wonderful, and so much has come through, even from all the questions that people have been asking. I mean, my mind is blown by some of the stuff that you've shared today, Elizabeth. It's been amazing. Yeah, very educational.
My pleasure. I love talking with everybody, and yeah, I'm learning something every day. And when I get to work with all of you, I learn even more and more and more, and we do it together. So again, count me in as, in equanimity on your round table.
Absolutely, because like Elizabeth said, we're all equal, right? And so we're all, working together as a team to heal, clear, bless, whatever it happens to be that you're working on. And I love that, just offering up that guilt to God, source, creator, and asking it to be transformed, transmuted into miracles, right?
Absolutely.
And the same with, Gaia, Sophia, Mother Earth. It's like she is always here with us, and she is always supporting us. And I think we tend to forget her, even though, like, when I do my healing work, I always include her. But like in our everyday life, sometimes we forget that without her we wouldn't even exist, right? So yeah, there's a lot of wisdom. Deborah said that was amazing. Not sure I got it all. That's okay. You can go back and watch and listen again, because you're going to want to watch and listen again, because there was so much information here, so much wisdom here. And some of the stuff that we talked about might be new for you. And some of the stuff you may not have heard during this conversation because you were not ready to hear it. But when you listen to it again, more information will come to you. You'll be able to access more and more information and hear different things. Yeah. So any last words of wisdom for us? I know we didn't get to all the questions and all the people, but this was such a full conversation and so much that we talked about. I don't even know where we started anymore.
It's okay. I guess the last piece would just be that, you know, so many wonderful people in the light have worked very hard to make sure we have the foundation to stand on. And now it's time for us to keep building, and we're building the new world. We're building the kingdom of heaven. It starts in your mind. It starts with you. It starts with how you feel, and that your imagination is real. So the images that you offer your subconscious create reality. And we know that now is to be a fact. But as we move into this new divine order, what you're going to discover, the most profound truth, is that all of the darkness was part of the divine order too. And that it was all in perfect timing so that we could actually be pressured just at the right way in the right time for us to become something new and special. And that's what you're doing. And like I was telling the lady Asha earlier, we are navigating brand new waters. If everything seems like we're in some kind of sci-fi world, that's because it is. That's because it is. You're not crazy. It is kind of a weird wonderland of madness at the moment. And it's because every cycle you can think of is ending all at once. And no one has been through this before like we are. No one. So there can't be anyone to lead the way. It's you. It's you leading the way for your family. Step up as the commander, as the priest or the priestess of your household, and then bless the way forward, because that really creates an immense amount of invincibility. No one can use blessings against you, right? They can use all sorts of things against you, but not your blessings.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's why I, for one, do not send out healing or love, unconditional love, yes, and blessings, and that's it. But if somebody asks for something else, that's different. But normally, no. And so, part of the whole blessing piece, Elizabeth, that you talked about, I think is so important for all of us, because I think when we are blessing our future, our path, our whatever unfolds in front of us, when we're starting to bless it, we come out of that place of reaction and resistance, and we're more present and in the acceptance of all that is. But it creates a high vibration frequency for us to continue to move forward.
Exactly. It basically parts the waves, right? Opens the waters.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that. So please, everyone, please definitely use blessings, use prayers, and like today I'm praying for all the people in Jamaica and Cuba.
Oh yeah, and divine rights. And we can say it's their divine right in Jamaica to be able to stand in their power with their communities and all their amazing genetic power that backs them up and all their ancestors, to stand in the face of what's happening right now and be able to move forward and rebuild from here with enormous amounts of support. It's their divine right.
Absolutely. So thank you. This has been so amazing, like always. Oh my goodness. And it's like I always have to go back and watch and listen again. So I will have the recordings out in a little while. So please stay tuned for that. Check the email or check the YouTube for that. But again, please go back and watch and listen again, and take advantage of and implement some of the processes and practices that Elizabeth has shared with us today. And thank you, Elizabeth. Again, so wonderful to speak with you, to have you on this platform with us, sharing your wisdom. And you're right, some of the stuff that you share with us, I don't think I've heard anywhere else. So I'm always eager to hear what else does Elizabeth have to say. What else can open up my mind a little bit more, my consciousness a little bit more. So thank you.
Well, you can always count on me for something weird. At least it's entertaining.
It's different, it's new, it's fresh, it's a different perspective sometimes, and we need that in order to really open ourselves up to recognizing the truth of reality. So
Absolutely. I like to find all the very weird and wonderful ways we can do these things in consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Definitely feel better. Please
Thank you.
rest. This has been amazing. So thank you, thank you. And everybody, thank you, thank you. Like I said, I'll have the recordings out later. Please take advantage of the special offer as well. The package that Elizabeth is offering, because it's amazing. So much wisdom. So thank you, thank you. And until next time, we'll be back on Thursday. So until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all so much love and blessings. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.